This month we're celebrating 75 years of the SABC, and today's the official birthday. It's about looking back over the years, remembering the highs, the lows and the legends. Well, with me now is veteran broadcaster Tim Modise, whose career spans decades, both in radio and television. So lovely to have you with us today.
No, thanks very much, Juliet, for inviting me to be with you in the studio.
When did you realize you've got a golden voice?
Golden voice? I don't know. I've never thought about it that way, for sure.
Yes.
I realized that I'm interested in broadcasting in 1975, 76. That was when I realized that that's a thing for me, that it's a career I should pursue.
Now, growing up, did you know this is where you're going? You want to be on radio, you want to be on television, you're going to...
Being a star is something else, I can't say. But it's because of my interest in a variety of things that lend themselves to broadcasting,
yes,
that I ended up in broadcasting. I love music and I enjoy sport, and I listen to music on radio. That's where I had most of the music, and I developed a love for it. And following sports commentaries on radio. Well, you know, it was, and including news as well, that being transported to other parts of the world through the voice that was carried over the radio, and years later on television, it felt like a world I wanted to be in. So you could travel the world without leaving your home.
Now, you've just been on air now with Sakina.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
It was wonderful, because I've worked with Sakina before, and I've hosted the news programs on SAFM, and I had the voices of people I worked with, and the crossing we did with Angie in the past, which was in 1997, but listening to that interaction sounded like something that happened only yesterday or a couple of days ago.
When did you get your first break, and was it everything you thought it would be? My
first break was when I worked at 702, it was called Channel 702 at the time. It was a music station when I worked as a production assistant. So I worked in the environment. It was very important for me to be in that environment and work with veteran broadcasters of the time, Stan Cads, Cockatoo Bull, and producing stuff for them, the music and the commercials that they need to play in their programs, and therefore I from them, and then got to be on air at Radio Bob in 1982. Yeah. So it was a great experience working at Radio Bob, and to be part of a new venture when Metro was started in '86 was another great experience for me.
Well, we've got a clip we'd like to show you, and then we'll chat a little bit about after we've played it.
Yeah.
It was an interview you did with former President Jacob Zuma. Take a look.
Okay.
Tonight, we bring you a special broadcast of the interview with President Jacob Zuma on his second State of the Nation address. The speech was given on the 11th of February, 20 years to the day of Nelson Mandela's release in 1990. It's the second time that we speak following your State of the Nation address, and this is 8 months into the job. I'm very curious to find out from you what the experience has been like since the last time we spoke, and what your reflections are over the 8-month period.
Well, Tim, it has been quite an experience, a challenge. Firstly, as you know, we had to establish government. And this time around, we thought for purposes of our effectiveness, it was important to reconfigure some departments.
What do you think about that when you look at that? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do, yeah. And well, this must have been what, about 2009, 2000 or 2010? So, yeah, I do remember that.
Now, you've spoken to so many presidents over the years, world leaders, but who is the one person you didn't get to interview? And who would you still like to interview if given the chance?
Who would have you in recent times? You know, well, I'm going back to in time. Not many people. I was not thinking about it, but in recent times, I'm very much curious to understand how a person like Elon Musk thinks,
Oh, yes.
I think is a great and smart person when it comes to the work that he's done and the innovations, managing the companies that he's managing, the technology he's introduced. But it's his dabbling into politics where I find a sort of disconnect within his character and personality makeup. So I'm curious to know what is it that makes him venture into stuff which he's been successful in and his interest in politics.
I think that's what makes you so good at what you do, is because of the way that you view things differently from everybody else, just the way that you've kind of given me a synopsis of how you would, carry that interview with Elon Musk.
Yes.
Do you think you're unique in that way?
I don't know, but I'm curious to look at patterns of what's going on in the environment and what's going on around individuals. And also, I think I subscribe to this understanding that human beings are multidimensional, that sometimes we talk to a person only in context of that part, what they do, their work, but we forget that they're human beings and there are other things. Like you did ask me, what motivates you to do or what generates an interest in something on an individual's part, So once you get to know different sides of a story or a person, I think you can always do enriching interviews. They're very interesting because you get to discover stuff that you would not have known unless you venture that direction.
I think the key is to ask the questions you think the viewers at home would want answers to, and then give them a lot more as well.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing is so-called engaging. When you are interested in the subject, I suspect even the guests know that.
Yeah.
They get a sense that you are interested in them.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you do an interview, you just have got 3-4 pre-prepared questions, and then you want to rush them through without actually, and I mean most of hosts, and I've done it too, you don't pay attention to what is being said. So, but if you engage the individual, the subject that you are interviewing, you're likely to get much more than what you envisaged.
Can you pinpoint the one thing?
The highlight of my career was to participate in the discussions that led to the establishment of democratic South Africa in 1994. The period just before then, where we were talking to the different parties that were discussing the future of the country at that time at the World Trade Center in Kempton Park, it was a very important thing for me to do, and I think it was worthwhile because almost to a person, almost to a representative of the organizations that were there, I managed to talk to them. And I felt that it is important that we take their ideas and their positions to the broader audiences, because there were no opportunities for them to inform the public that was going to take part in the elections on where they stood on a variety of issues. So to create a platform and bring to sort of account and explain themselves to the public of South Africa at the time, I think was a worthwhile thing for me to do.
Were you ever afraid at that time that somebody might say, no, stop asking those questions, and pull you back from probing and for really getting stuck into what was really at the heart of what was happening in the country at the time?
I was not afraid to be told to stop, and it has happened.
Yeah.
But somehow I don't pay attention to that. I'm motivated more by what I want to do and what I want to achieve at a particular time. So even if I may be told, don't do this, don't do that, but if I think it's relevant to the matter at hand, I'll do it anyway. So I wouldn't say I was ever afraid of that, because it has happened, but I continued nevertheless.
A lot of the time journalists get asked, when you leave work at the end of the day and you go home, are you able to separate yourself from, what you've experienced during the day, what you've been reporting on? Is there one specific story that crept into your heart and soul, and that you were never and still haven't been able to separate yourself from?
I can't say I've not been able to separate myself from that, but definitely touched me a great deal. It hurt. It hurt. It was very painful to. It was the Rwanda genocide. To cross to people who were on the ground in Rwanda, talking about the mass killings of people, and of course the visuals that we saw, coming from Rwanda, that almost 1 million people being killed in less than 3 months was one of the most traumatic stories for me to cover.
Were they sharing those visuals from like Kigali and that? Were you able to see?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
what was happening?
because some of the coverage we did with the BBC
Yes.
Journalists who were on the
Yes.
ground there, and this happened more or less at the same celebrating
That's correct.
democracy here.
That's correct,
So
1994.
for me, it was that told me was something like, as much as you are celebrating, it took South Africa a long time to get to the democracy 94. Things can change overnight, and that human beings have got immense amounts of activeness in them when it comes to violence. That hatred, violence, and whatever motivates that type of behavior is something that you cannot shut down easily. That once it's provoked, it can get out, and to the extent that fellow citizens can kill each other in the manner that happened at the time.
It's interesting that Rwanda and South Africa both got a new beginning in 1994.
Yeah.
And it's so incredible to see how the two countries have progressed over the years and have done really, really well.
Yes.
Mr. Modise, I wish I had more time with you. It's been such an honor to spend some time with you.
No, I appreciate Juliet, and just wanted to make the point that I understood Archbishop Tutu because of what I've just said now about Rwanda, why reconciliation was important then and why it's important now.
Yes.
That you not rush to be to promote hatred to each other, because without realizing it, you can trigger something that is very, very horrible. And based on nothing else except anger and hatred.
Thank you so much, Tim Modise, broadcast veteran, chatting to us today on the 75th anniversary of the SABC.